mess we're about to get into right now.
Sit your $5 ass down before I make.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Black on Black Cinema. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Micah.
I mean, we get a guest on, and you want to talk about shenanigans.
Maybe it's
fault.
me. Maybe I'm the omen. Truth lies shenanigans. Whoop, whoop.
You know what it is? It is you, because Jay wants to make me look like a fool in front of the people that I do a podcast with.
That's true.
I don't teach him to be on another person's podcast.
Right. Yeah, you don't leave the house. You don't leave the house. All right, we had some wild technical difficulties.
My name's Micah. I'm here as well, and we have a special guest, Liz, aka Elizabeth, aka E, aka the best host of the live streaming podcast, Truth, Lies, and Shenanigans.
Wow.
You can find Truth, Lies, and Shenanigans at tlsshow.com and anywhere you get your podcasts. Liz, welcome.
What's up? I love that intro. I love that characterization of me as the best host on TLS. What's up, everyone? My name is Liz, aka Liz E. Glad to be here this Monday night. We have a movie that we want to discuss and talk about. I think they asked me to be on this one, because of my hue, but we will get into that a little bit later. But I think it's going to be a great show. Per usual, I have a lot to say.
That's good. Look, Tiara's not here on this episode, but as we do, we're as men, we are just blanketly replacing one woman with another, because that's how that works. Liz, I appreciate you being on here, because I think this, we were supposed to record last week, but neither you or Tiara could be on, and Mike and I both agreed that this is a very important episode to have a female perspective on. Specifically. So, no, we didn't bring you on just because of your skin tone, but it doesn't hurt for this conversation. It doesn't hurt. Because I do want to know your perspective on that. So we are going to review Passing. This is the 2021 black and white drama film, written, produced, and directed by actress Rebecca Hall. This is actually her directorial debut, which is kind of dope. Starring Tessa Thompson and Ruth Negga and Andre Holland, who Andre Holland is playing the same person he's playing on The Nick, which is hilarious to me. Arguably. So the general plot of this is that a woman named Irene, who is very light-skinned, played by Tessa Thompson, runs into an old friend of hers, Claire, as they're both passing for white, and this is like the 1920s, because this is based on a novel, 1929 novel. They're both passing for white, and then we come to find out that Claire, played by Ruth Negga, actually passes for white all the time, where Irene was just passing for white that day, and she's married to Andre Holland, like a very black husband and black kids, but she just wanted to go to this store, so she was just kind of doing it for the day. And Claire and Irene's paths cross again. They are old friends, and their lives sort of get intertwined as Claire is out there living her best white woman life. And shit goes awry. So I'll start with Liz, our guest. What did you think of the movie?
So once again, Micah, you picked a movie that I did not like. I was like, what on earth is going here? I'll tell you the things I did like very quickly. I loved the imagery. I loved the cinematography. I loved the filming in black and white. I loved, in terms of imagery, the movie started with a white screen. The movie ended with a white screen. So I loved those little cinematography elements. But in terms of the casting, of the plot, in terms of the character development, hated it.
Now, did you read the original book?
I did not read the original book. I
Okay,
did not
I'm
read
just
the
curious.
original book. Have you read it? I presume.
No. I was just curious if
Oh,
if you were if
okay.
your opinion was informed by like, well, I love the book, but the movie didn't do it justice or something. Okay, cool.
No.
No, I'm a black man in America. I don't like to read. I'm kidding. Relax.
What? I'm a black woman in America. I am a bookworm. Hello, come on, people.
No, I'm just kidding
Read.
about me. Reading, it's overrated.
LeVar Burton, Reading Rainbow.
That's
Let's
true.
go.
He did teach us that, and then they didn't give him a game
He
show.
did. I know.
Micah, what were your thoughts on this?
I actually watched it twice. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much.
See, told you. We got a
I
thing going on.
think
I can hear back and forth.
I think I think the movie has interesting things to say about identity and jealousy. I actually very much like the characterizations of the two leads. I agree with you. It's shot beautifully. I think it's shot in black and white, partly because it looks good, and partly because like that's the only way that Ruth Negga and Tessa Thompson could pass.
Could pass
white.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they're light skinned, but they ain't that light, guys. Like,
They
I
got
a cousin
mad black features.
right, yeah, right, yeah. That ain't a white nose, guys.
No, it's not, no. I know your cousin you're about to mention. Yo, I wouldn't even think twice that she was not a white woman in those certain pictures.
Yeah, I have a cousin by blood that is biracial, and she can 100% pass as a white woman. If her hair is natural, it's a light-skinned black woman. If she straightens it, there's a white woman with green eyes, right? Like it's very odd. But it's she gets upset, because she does have that feeling of blackness. It's like she goes between those two worlds, right?
Right.
And it's I don't know. I think it's interesting. I just think it's an interesting concept. And yeah, I enjoyed this movie very much. It's tight 90, so it's not a huge commitment. Andre Holland continues to be the best actor whose name you don't know. And everyone else, Alexander Skarsgård's in it for some reason. Playing a racist.
He's fine.
He's everywhere lately.
Swedish brother. He's a fine Swedish brother. That's why they added him to the mix.
Okay. You gonna let him call you that pet name? You gonna let that fine Swedish brother call you that pet name?
I said Alexander Skarsgård, not John.
No.
Not John in the movie. Alexander Skarsgård.
How convenient.
And remember, I lived in Scandinavia. Ain't nobody called me Nig when I lived in Scandinavia.
Yeah, that's probably for the best for them. I would argue. It's not a good move. Yeah, look, I actually enjoyed this. I watched this 1.5 times. I just didn't have a chance to finish it the second time. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite good, especially for a directorial debut. I thought it was pretty impressive. Also directed by a white woman, so shocked that it didn't come off as being more off the rails. But it's also based on a book, so that's a little bit easier to just kind of follow the story as it exists.
Directed by a mixed race.
Oh, is Rebecca Hall mixed?
Passing.
Oh, I didn't realize.
So that's the backstory of Rebecca Hall. So her dad is white, right? She's British. Her dad is white, but her mom is an opera singer named Marie Ewing, who is biracial, but who passed.
Oh, interesting.
Who was passing when she was growing up. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, then that makes sense why the story is close to her, because it feels very personal. So, I mean, especially if this is your directorial debut, I would assume the topic should be personal to you. Obviously, it very much was. Okay, so that makes sense. Look, I thought everybody involved largely came off quite well. I stand firmly that Andre Holland is a criminally underrated actor for most people who don't really know him. But yeah, I think this might be one of Tessa Thompson's, I think, one of her better roles. Mississippi Damned was like super good, but it is one of the most depressing films I've ever seen. And Ruth Negga, I think, is great in everything except for that movie Loving, which I think was horrible. But that's not her fault.
Yeah.
That movie fucking stunk. Just wasn't interesting, guys. Sorry. But look, I like the characterization. I like the idea of putting these two women, intertwining their lives, and then like weirdly putting them at odds with each other. Yeah, so I thought it was interesting. Look, the idea of passing is a fascinating one, and I feel like it's not a topic that white people like super get, right? Because it's not a topic like modern day black people talk about much, right? So it's just like, if you're a white person nowadays, like, what the hell do you know about that? Like, okay, they just pretended to be white. Yeah, it's a little bit more complex than that. And this movie does a good job of showing that it's not just about pretending to be white, but what effect that has on you when you go home, right? Or when you're around black people. So, yeah, I dug it. All in all, I dug it.
Now, the ending of this film, there are three major viewpoints that you can interpretations that you can kind of glean from the ending of this, ending of this film. And I'm very, very curious to see what everyone's opinion of the ending and how they took the ending. Because I would argue that one of them, it's plausible, but not really. So it's up in the air between two others, right? And I think one ending seems like it's obvious, but there's enough in this movie, like little things that make the third option plausible. And we'll get more into it when we get there. But the movie opens up with Irene, a light-skinned black woman living in Harlem, and she ends up running into a childhood friend. I'm reading from Wikipedia, by the way, if you want to follow me. Yeah, because whoever did the plot synopsis did a pretty good job.
Yeah, no, I read it too. I was like, I don't need to watch it. I don't need to watch the second half of this. I got it.
I don't read no Wikipedia. It's the devil. It's the devil.
So she goes up and she meets her a childhood friend named Claire at a hotel. And
Mike,
one of the earlier shots when she
Micah, can I just interrupt you for a little bit before we get to that portion?
Sure.
I want to ask you guys about the very beginning. And because I was triggered from the moment we saw the two white women walking into the store. It was a leisurely day. Everyone's out shopping. You have these two white women walking to the store where they're selling dolls, right? And the first thing the one white woman says is, "Oh, look at the pickaninny doll."
Yeah.
Talking about the black doll. So for me, I was just like, okay, I didn't even have time to catch my breath to assess the passing that I was going to see throughout the film. I was like, we here already?
Yeah, it's 1929.
I mean, it's 1929.
Not even 2 minutes in.
No.
Look at the pickaninny.
Hey, look, racism doesn't have time to wait on you. Catch up.
I just wasn't ready. I just was not ready. I thought, they were going, walk me.
Give you a little
racism does not run on CP time.
Then to see that
it's
after
on
saying
time
that about
every
a
time.
black doll, calling the black doll a pickaninny, and then to see Tessa Thompson come on screen, I was like, oh, so wait, she's supposed to be white?
So okay, there is a theory, right? And I actually share this too, that they pick these actresses on purpose. That to us,
to trigger me, trigger me.
No, but I think it's the idea of like, to black people, you see blackness in other people that white people don't see, right? Like I've definitely had that moment where I've seen a biracial person. I'm like, okay, they're clearly biracial. And like white people are just like, no, that person's white. I'm like, no, they're not. And I feel like,
Yeah, people thought The Rock is white.
right. Like they,
Like,
which is crazy. I'm like,
Because I think for a lot of people, you're one or the other. You're black or you're white. And so The
Right.
Rock is obviously not white. However, we're talking about a genre where
oh no, they thought
there
he
was
was
still-
white until he was on
there's
Jet
still-
magazine.
And then we have the idiots of society. I will give you that.
Yeah.
But we're still talking about a time period where the tragic mulatto was still a part of the conversation. So Lena Horne, this was in the 20s. Lena Horne was born in 1916, 17. Several years past when this movie was supposed to take place, Lena Horne was getting kicked out of hotels. She was getting pools drained because
Right.
people looked at her and knew that she wasn't as white as everyone else thought she was. And so it I feel like someone that was easily more white passing could have played at least one of these roles.
Right, but
Like
no.
Rashida
someone a little
Jones.
more reasonable.
Like Rashida Jones. Like
Yeah, Rashida Jones could
has-
definitely pass. Right.
Now I don't know if Rashida Jones has Tessa Thompson's acting chops, because I thought
No.
acting wise, Tessa Thompson did an amazing job. But in terms of just getting the casting right, I just was shaking my head. And then, okay, I'm a little bit more light skinned. I can show you guys a picture of my dad later on, who was light and bright when he didn't have a tan. However, he was one of 10 children. Half of them were light, half of them were brown or darker skinned.
Oh, my uncle on my father's side, 100% could pass. 100%.
I mean,
I've had white friends
okay,
and they're like, yo, who is this white dude at your party? I'm like,
I'll post my dad's picture in our chat, and you tell me if you think he could pass. I know what your answer is going to be.
No.
Micah just posted a picture of his cousin. Okay. Micah just posted a picture of his cousin. But they were never really mistaken for white, according to him.
well, I mean,
And
look.
my dad was born in 1920, I should say. My dad was old. My dad was born in 1920. So he and
Right.
Lena, the Horne, were around, the same age.
Well, but what I was saying earlier is I think that the casting is on purpose, right? I think the idea is for us to see how absurd it is. And the white people in the
Okay,
movie
I'll give you that.
but that's what I'm saying. Like, we recognize blackness in other black folks faster than white people do. And it's like, to me, it's absurd for a white person to be standing next to Ruth Negga and Tessa Thompson and not realize they're black. Like, that's absurd to me. But I think that's the point, is that they don't even notice unless it's like super obvious. It's just like that idea of you only really know like the details of like 100 people in your head, and then everyone just starts to kind of blur out. Like that's a human thing, right? Which is why when people say all these people look alike, well, yeah, like if you're not in that group, they do actually. Like, it's like when people say, oh, all Asian people look alike. Yes, if you're not Asian, you don't see the distinctive differences between those people. What's that?
I've never said.
Well,
I said,
you're not
just
a
making
you're
it
not
clear,
a
I've never
bigot.
said that.
I'm just saying.
Not a
I'm
bigot.
not.
though.
I'm an ageist, Micah, but I'm not a bigot.
I'm just saying that's a statement that people make across any race, that like other races, all the people look alike, because to them, they don't see nuance. They don't, like, you tend to not see nuance if you're not a part of that group. So
It's still it took me, I was taken aback for a little bit until I was
Sure.
able to try to absorb the story. Like I would say the first 15, 20 minutes,
yeah, they look ludicrous.
I was pointing out all of the issues. And then I thought about Ruth Nega's character, Claire, and I'm thinking, if they had made her hair its natural black color, she would have looked more white passing to me. I think the blonde accentuated the fact
Yeah,
that
she looked absurd. Absurd.
absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. And my final question before Micah gets into the movie, did Ruth Nega's name, given that her husband, what he called her in the movie, now saying Ruth Nega's name is kind of triggering for me. I'm just like,
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It's the most inconvenient last name for a black person of all time. Like it really is. Especially in Hollywood. Like she's not even an accountant where you don't have to you just call her Ruth. Like you don't want to say this shit the whole time. Like, nah, you gotta say her name when she's in Hollywood. Like
I don't want to
awful.
say it though. After
I
watching
know.
this movie, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it.
Skarsgård was saying it the whole time. He was like, I got it. Don't worry about it. I'll say it.
Yeah,
It's the
you gotta
summertime.
check
You
your
got a
white
tan,
friends.
Nick.
You gotta check
You
your
got a tan. Woo.
you gotta check your
Poor
white friends when they're talking about the cast of this movie. You know, what I
Yeah,
mean?
be like,
You
Ruth
can't
who?
just be
Who?
like,
Huh?
Just call her Miss Ruth.
Ruth.
Just call her
Yeah.
Miss Ruth. Just
Just
call her
let it
Miss
go.
Ruth.
Just don't even you know what? Don't even mention her. Say the other one. Just say the
Just
other
call
one.
her Claire. Just say Claire.
Yeah,
Claire.
Claire's fine. You don't get to if you're white, you don't get to say the actress in this movie's name. Like you just can't. Shit is unacceptable.
Okay, I just had to get that out of my system about the casting.
No,
So,
that's
don't
fair.
let
That's
me know.
fair. But
That's fair.
Claire looks absurd. Like she looks absurd to me. But I mean, I think that's the point is that to white people, it's like, yeah, no, that seems reasonable because they just don't
And
see
I-
it, they don't pay attention.
And it's illustrated. It's, you mentioned like, well, black people can usually tell when you see another black person, right? And that's illustrated in this opening scene where Irene is sitting down in the hotel and Claire is just gawking at her, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like looking in a mirror, right? Like, come on now.
Yeah. What you doing here? What you doing?
Right. Like, what's going on here? Like they, of course, they recognize each other, and at least Claire does. But it's played off like, oh, I recognize you from back in the day. Like, nah, yo, I recognize you as a black person.
Yeah.
Like that's what that to me is what it's illustrating.
Yeah, I love that scene because it like is slightly terrifying because it's like you gonna dime me out? No, you gonna dime me out? No, all right then, we good.
Yeah,
I mean,
your dad
I feel like I keep putting Micah off in terms of how he wants to, guide us through this conversation. But you bring up a good point. Like there was a moment where I felt like, okay, I certainly would have dimed you out. I would have told your tea, and that was when they
Damn,
were up in the
really?
suite, and John was telling this story about, well, it's summertime and she just keeps getting darker and darker. And I told her, you better be careful because you about to look like a nigga. And then and that's how he calls her Nig. That's how she got her nickname. And Rainey is looking like, okay, I have to laugh at this because if I don't, I'm going to out myself.
Right.
But I'm speaking from the 21st century perspective. 21st century Newman, Liz would have outed her in that moment, outed both of them.
Yeah,
but
back then he would have killed both of y'all in that room.
Yeah. But my God, it took a lot of discipline for her to sit through that. And we'll talk about that. I want to talk about that a little bit later with the article that I showed you guys earlier this week.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, okay, it's over. It's over right now. It's over.
It's crazy.
The when they were up in the hotel room, they were talking about the nickname, and I just love the scene because the two women are laughing hysterically, right? And it's like laughing from nervousness. It's laughing like, wow, you really like fooled this white man. Like jokes on him. You having sex with a black chick? Somebody you hate.
Rainey said, does he know? She's like, girl, does he know?
Hell no, he don't know. I'm still alive. And I like how he was like, yeah, I don't care. I don't care about color. I'm like, don't you? I bet you do. Now, you don't care if your wife is a little bit more tan. That's not what this is. Like, relax, my man. Relax. That is not the same thing. Knock it off.
So, Rena ends up going back to Harlem. She meets up with her husband, played by Andre Holland, who is a doctor, and their two kids.
Very dark.
I forget
kids.
their names. They are very dark. They mentioned they mentioned that in the previous scene. And in the previous scene, Claire just assumed that because Irene was downtown or whatever, that she was married to a white man, and
And it was
she
just
was
one
like,
big old passing family.
right, like, oh yeah, this is what all us light skinned people do, right?
Nah.
Right?
She was like,
Nah,
babe,
yo.
I'm not with you on that.
Nah, man.
So let me ask you this, Micah, very quickly. Do you think that Renee made it a point to marry a dark-skinned man to kind of separate herself?
I can't speak for the light-skinned among us, but there are quite a few people that I know that specifically seek out mates. If they are light-skinned, they specifically seek out mates that are of a much darker complexion.
Yep.
It could be just what they're attracted to. It could be, something psychological. But I know a couple people who have specifically sought people who want to get the darkness back in their gene pool, basically.
Yeah, and I know people like that too, actually, both male and female. That's never been me. If you find, you find, to me. Right. I've dated almost everybody, every hue, every nationality. Like, if you find, you find. But I do have friends, I do know people, more women than men, who feel like they have something to prove to the race.
Yeah, and I feel bad, because to me, again, I can't speak for those people, but to me, it feels like they think that something is missing. And, I know that people that are of a darker complexion, their grievance is that, people don't find them attractive because they're dark and because they don't have European features. And then on the other side of that coin, it's the same argument the other way, right? For some. And it's, because slavery, like, quite literally.
That's it. Can we argue? We can't argue around that. You can't.
Right. And it sucks, man. It sucks.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I don't care. I don't care what color people are. I'm the Captain Kirk of that. Like, white, black, green. Who gives a shit? Like you said, if you find, you find. Like that. I don't give a shit. I don't have time to be hung up on things like that. Dude, there's just way too many people in the world. Like, are you serious? Like, no, only this block. No, all blocks. there's attractive people everywhere. But what is interesting is that idea. Like, I know a white woman who specifically wanted to have a biracial child. Like
Madonna.
I mean, she's just grabbing them up. Like her and Angelina Jolie. She ain't collecting them like fucking Pokemon. But like, she legitimately wanted to be with a black dude because she found biracial children so cute. And I was like, that's really fucked up. And it's not, that's not as exactly cool as you think it sounds. And guess what? She got it. I mean, look, she found a black dude. And it's sad because she's really good looking. And she ended up with a dude who's really not good looking. And now their kids kind of look like Ice-T, which is kind of fucked up. But
okay, I'm going to try not to talk about the cheering tonight. I'm going to try.
I'm just saying they do, they do. They do.
Ice-T's baby girl with, what's her name? I can't even remember Ice-T's wife's name. Coco.
Yeah, they look like him.
The baby.
They look like him.
It's
sad.
Scary.
It's sad.
It's scary.
It's sad.
It's scary.
The word is sad.
Ice-T in a cheap wig. She is Ice-T in a cheap wig.
Look, I love him for it, but like, if those kids could have looked like the mom, that would have served her a lot better in life. Like, Ice-T's not a handsome guy.
The thing with that train of thought is, if you are mating with someone of a different race, you are in an interracial relationship for the sole purpose of having what you perceive to be pretty kids.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And when we say pretty kids, we know they're talking about light-skinned kids with a certain hair texture, right? There's no guarantee. Like, what are you going to do if that kid comes out on the browner side of the equation?
I mean, that's the thing, though, is people who generally have that mentality are very shallow. But oddly, when they have kids, they realize it doesn't actually fucking matter. I mean, sure, I'm sure there are some scumbags who are just like, I wanted the baby to be this hue, right? But I think 99% of people go, oh, this is my kid. Like, it doesn't matter, right?
A lot of rappers have done that. Like, they've spoken out about, Lil Wayne talked about, how he didn't want to have any more black kids.
Yeah.
So he was, so it's a lot of ignorance.
I mean, the problem is, like, I always find it weird where people are like, when they feel like dating someone of another race is like a level of attainment, right? Like I find that odd. Like, if you date somebody or married to somebody who is of another race, who gives a shit? Like, my wife is not black, like, whatever. But I don't see it as like, she's better than these black chicks out here. Like, I don't look at her like that. She is a woman. She just happens to be the race that she is. But it's like, I don't look at that as like, oh shit, son, I made it because I'm with this non-black woman. That's fucking stupid. But I've heard people like Kodak Black and shit like that, who's, no offense, is one of the ugliest motherfuckers I've ever seen in my life.
And can barely speak English, but go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
But like, that dude prides himself on the idea of like being with someone who oddly doesn't look like him. Like, you're a very dark-skinned dude. Like, again, if you happen to be with somebody who wasn't, that's okay. But when you pride yourself on that, that's a big difference, right? Like, and a lot of times people equate those two groups together, and I don't think that's fair, right? Like, you shouldn't conflate those. Like, sometimes you meet people in the sphere that you're in. I met my wife in the sphere that I was in, right? I was introduced to her by my cousin, right? But if she was black, I'd like her just the same. It wasn't because she's not black. Like, that's stupid to me. So, like, but when you're like, I gotta get a white woman to know I made it, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, no, that's just unacceptable to me in every form or fashion. I cannot stand that. So
there was a football player a couple of years ago who I can't remember his name, but he's married to a white woman, and they have a biracial child, beautiful child. And actually, to both of them, both the very dark-skinned football player, his white wife, good-looking people. She posted a picture of their child with the hashtag mixed babies. Mixed babies rule the world. Mixed babies are the best. Now, Black Twitter dragged both of them.
Yeah, that's not a good look, It's not a good look. It's not an accomplishment. Having a mixed child is not an accomplishment, dude. It's not.
Just
look, for people,
child.
Right? For people who don't know,
your child.
Right. For people who don't know, my daughter is biracial, but my daughter's adopted. Right. I didn't know what race she was when my wife was like, "Hey, there's this option that sort of came to her about adopting this little girl," and we talked about it, and I was like, "All right, yeah, let's do it." We tried to have kids for a long time, we couldn't. And so I was like, yeah, all right, let's do it. I never asked what race she was. I never asked. I didn't care. I didn't care if she was fucking Chinese. I didn't give a shit. It didn't matter. But like, I'm sure people see me and my daughter, like, I'm sure there's some people who are like, oh, he's with a white woman or whatever. But it's like, I never even fucking asked.
When you say people, when he says people, y'all, he's really talking about black women, because I'll take the hit on that.
Yeah.
It's the black women that's gonna call you out.
Yeah.
The black
Which
women
is
that's
stupid.
gonna call you out.
Right, which is stupid. Because like, never mind. You can listen to our episode called An Adventure Story, and you can Liz, you can listen to the preview episode Adventure Story.
Okay.
And I give all the details of that. So it'd be weird for a black woman to call me out for having a biracial daughter. I'm like, I mean, if a black woman had done what she was supposed to do, this wouldn't have been an option. But whatever. But that's that specific black woman, not all black women. So that woman is a problem. So, but
he said,
yeah, a black woman, not all black women. No, it's
I'm just
not.
trying to save you, Jay. I'm just trying to save you.
Look. Every week I tap dance on the line of being canceled or whatever by whomever. I don't know. But the point being, like, using biracial kids or like as some sort of accomplishment is fucking stupid. They're just kids. And
it's giving your kid
also
a
they
job.
they also don't rule the world. That's stupid. They don't. They're like 5% of the population.
It's making your kid a diplomat once they come out of the womb. Like,
they don't have to do that.
It's ridiculous.
No, like
Okay,
look,
Michael, go.
Yeah.
Movie.
yeah. Sorry, we'll be on this forever.
so Claire reaches out to Irene through a letter because it's 1929 and they don't have cell phones. And
No text
and
messages,
Irene
no
is
DM.
Irene is very reluctant, right? Like she's like, oh, fuck with her, right? Like she walking around pretending to be white, yo. Like get out of here, yo. Like I'm black.
But Micah, Claire has done it on a couple of occasions. Or I'm sorry, Irene has done it on a couple of occasions.
If you gotta if you gotta go to Epstein's or whatever, or Zayre's, you gotta go out there.
Zayre's.
You gotta go to the Heck Company,
right? Exactly. Hamburger.
I would say
Saks Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, Bergdorf, Saks, not Zayre's. That's the South Side. That has Zayre's.
No, you definitely didn't need to be white to get into Zayre's at all.
And she eventually, Claire comes up and is like, "Yo, why don't you call me back, yo?" And Irene is just like,
I sent a raven.
All right, you went right. She's like, why don't you send another pigeon back to me, yo? And she's like, all right, you want to know why? What the fuck is wrong with you, yo? Like, why you walking around pretending to be white? Just like, well, I want, nice stuff. It was like, that's real fucked up, yo. I'm paraphrasing the conversation here.
No, this is word for word dialogue of this 1929.
In 1920
this is
dialogue.
fucked up that you didn't call me back.
1920 dialogue.
But they eventually reconnect and they start, hanging out. And Claire is very charismatic and she's like the life of the party. And Claire admits that she really misses being black, essentially, right? Yeah. Like she's lived in this white world. She's lived disguised as this white woman for so long that she kind of she really, really misses blackness. And she's kind of she looks at it's one of those situations where it seems like the grass is always greener, right?
Right.
And meanwhile, Irene and her husband, they're having a rough patch as married couples tend to have.
A sexless marriage.
Yeah, they're in a sexless marriage. He's basically like, yo, how about like when we gonna fuck, right? Like, I mean, he basically comes out and says it, yo. Like he's like, hey, you spending all your time with this Negro charity. How about you show this Negro some charity? Right, like,
right, exactly.
And she's, Irene is very like prim and proper, and she's just like, But so their relationship is being fractured. Meanwhile, here comes Claire inserting herself into, situations and just kind of hanging out and being the life of the party, right? They go to a jazz club with Irene's, I guess, boss,
I think so.
Is what Hugh is. And they're all having a great time, right? And you really see that Irene is the life of the party, and she's kind of very friendly with everybody, including Brian, who is Irene's husband. The boss, his name is Hugh. Jay has a bad history with people named Hugh.
Yeah, not a fan of that name. No, I don't fuck with this guy. I don't fuck with this character at all for that reason.
I've never heard that before. Hugh. Okay.
That's a whack ass name. I'm just saying. That's a whack ass name.
Hugh is just like, all right, whatever, yo, whatever. I mean, she all right. I don't see why everybody's just like, fawning all over. Meanwhile, Hugh's wife is just dancing with every black man that she can't get her
enough.
hands on.
Can't get enough.
She is just like, I enjoy the licorice stick, and I am going to keep dancing and dancing with all these black men.
I mean,
to the point where
I've never heard it referenced like that before. Wow.
It's largely a precursor to her Brazzers video, right? Like it's like just relax, like just relax.
And So, so Irene is basically like, hey, like she's noticing things, right? And I think this is the beginning where the jealousy starts to kind of seep in.
Yeah,
At
absolutely.
first I thought there was a I thought passing had more than one meaning, right? Like maybe passing for straight, because as Irene sees Claire in some of these situations, she sometimes gets a little like, oh. And apparently the book is a little more ambiguous about that. The book has a little more erotic tension between the two of them.
But I
Go
kind of
on.
felt that too, because I think there were moments where Claire, when she was talking to, Irene in private situations, she would allude to something,
Yeah, she would.
allude to some
Mhm.
type of homoerotic behavior, interaction between the two of them in their past, in their former life. They would have, like, they would share a quick glance, a touch of the hands, or just kind of a smile, tilt of the head. It's like, huh,
Yeah, and
okay,
look,
so maybe this isn't just about color passing, like you said, Mike. Maybe this isn't just about passing as it relates to colorism. So yeah, I
Mhm.
felt that.
Mhm.
I definitely felt that.
I do have to say I do find this entire party scene to be fascinating from the perspective of it is a completely integrated party in 1929, which is wild. Like, yeah, I get it. Like, they're doctors and stuff like that, but these are still black folks, like dancing it up
In
with
Harlem. In
in
Harlem.
Harlem, but dancing it up with like this white woman. I assume that the other white men who are there think that Ruth Nega's character Claire is also white, right? Like, it's just kind of fascinating. Like, the white guys are in the back, like, yeah, this music's great. Like, in
Nobody get
1929,
offended. Nobody got
amazing,
lynched.
right?
Nothing.
Like,
It was a little like, okay,
yeah, how
okay.
accurate is this really? Look, now I'm sure there were little pockets that white people went down to Harlem, like, yeah, no, it's cool because I'm not like a complete piece of shit. Um, but it's just it's slightly jarring to see white and black people in the 1920s getting along this well without like here comes the cops to break it up, type of shit. So like it's slightly odd. But yeah, otherwise this scene is interesting. And then when Rini lets her boss, I guess, know that Claire
Hugh.
is actually Hugh. Yep.
That was one of my
Not a
favorite
fan of that
moments.
name. Not a fan of that name.
Say it
When
with me, Jay. Say it with me, Jay. Hugh.
no, I won't. I refuse. White man. No, but when he's informed that she's actually passing,
I love
like he
that name.
immediately is like,
He's like,
oh,
no way. No way.
interesting.
Okay.
Like because he
Yeah,
was
He's asking,
completely
he's asking a
yes,
bunch
yes.
of he's asking a bunch of questions and shit, and she's just like, "Yo, what are you filming for? Are you taking notes for National Geographic?
yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, man,
Like calm down, Mr.
get
Beverly.
out of
So
here."
that was
Yo.
one of my favorite scenes from this party because he's just talking on and on and on without the slightest clue that Claire
Yeah.
is a black woman who is passing. And as soon as Irene's like, take a look, and he
Yeah.
kind of pauses, he's like, no way. No way. It's like,
Yeah,
brother,
look at
how can
come
you
on,
not?
look at that.
And that's
Nose.
when I jump back into my defensive. Like, brother, how do y'all not see this?
Right.
So again, as I am wont to do, going off topic, I used to live in Finland, right? I was an exchange student in Finland. Finland is a very homogenous society. I was an exchange student there after high school, so we're talking the 90s. I was one of like maybe 5 black people in the whole country. So in our small town, a young girl came, like maybe midway through our school year. A young girl came in the lower school, so she was like maybe in, I don't know, 8th grade or something. And we were all lining up for an assembly, and it's just me, Black Elizabeth. I know y'all think I'm lighter, and actually I was really white in Finland because there ain't no sunlight there during the winter time, so I was really pale. But I still stood out. But this young girl came in, and I looked at her, and I'm like we talked about earlier, we can tell.
Right.
We could tell. She was white passing, obviously, because nobody else knew that she had an African parent. Her father was from Africa. Her mom was, I don't even think her mom was Finnish. I think her mom was from Norway. Her father was from Africa, but she was very fair, very light hair, although it was thick and curly like mine. But I kept looking at her like, y'all don't see this? Like, I was 18 at the time. And I'm like, I told it to my friends. I'm like, she's like biracial, or back then we said mixed. We didn't say biracial back in the 90s. We said mixed. I was like, she's mixed, right? They're like, mixed with what? Finnish people don't know nothing about that. And
Finnish and Norwegian? Get out of here. It's not interesting.
They did not see it. And you could tell when I looked at her, kind of like when Claire was giving Renee the eye, when they first saw one another, and Renee kept looking down. That was the two of us. I'm looking at her like, I see you. Come, give me a hug. She wanted no part of it.
Yeah,
she wanted no part of it.
Yeah.
And I was 18, so she was probably like 14, maybe. And I wasn't going to call her out. She did come up to me maybe like a month later, and we had a conversation, and that's how I got to know her background. And I didn't tell her tea. I was like, you're safe with me or whatever. And not that she wouldn't have been safe. It was Finland. Ain't nobody getting lynched in Finland.
Right.
But I just kept looking at people, just fascinated that they couldn't tell.
They couldn't tell. I had a woman who was a security guard at my job. Worked at the front desk every day. And my white coworker swore to me that this woman was just white. I was like, yo, look at her face. Look at her face. Look at that broad ass nose. No, dude, she got a black dad or mom at home. Knock it off. Nah, yo, no, she don't. I'm like, you're not seeing any details. You're not seeing any details. You're looking at a skin tone. Like, and even that, I'm like, it get hot outside, but she getting darker.
Yeah.
Like, you don't notice this shit?
Because in the winter, this and I were the same complexion. And I do not have, even though my dad was very fair skinned, I do not have a white or biracial parent at all. We just light-skinned people.
Right.
But this young lady, to me, it was the features, like you're talking about. It was the features more so than the color. I'm like, y'all don't see that kinky hair?
Right.
We are the only two people.
Like,
in this
she's either half black or she's Jewish. Like, pick one.
Something.
That's it.
But on the flip side of that, Jay, there was a kid that I went to high school. So from DC, Woodrow Wilson High School, which will now be Jackson Reed High School very soon. Here in the nation's capital, we changing the racist name. But there was a kid named Peter Banks. Yeah, I'm calling you out, Peter. There was a kid named Peter Banks, a couple of years younger than me. But Peter, I don't think Peter was white passing. I think there are some people who just don't walk in the room and say, I'm mixed, I'm biracial. Peter was just Peter. But if you saw Peter, there is no way you could tell that his dad was this big, his dad was like huge, tall, dark-skinned black man. Peter was straight blonde hair, blue eyes, not a hint of what we would think would be biracial or mixed color. If there was someone tanning, if he was tanning, he probably tanned more to the red side than he did to the brown side. Like, Peter looked like a regular blonde white kid. It wasn't until parent-teacher conference when his dad came walking through the room, I was like, yo, Peter.
Knew it. I knew you were Peter's dad. Look at that face.
Wow.
Yeah.
But no one
it's
knew.
crazy. I mean, like,
Peter had black friends. Peter had black friends in high school.
Right.
It's just, unless you asked him or you knew his background, that was a kid who could have totally passed.
So
100%.
So my father-in-law is South Indian, right? He gets as dark as I do, actually darker than me in the summertime. And my mother-in-law, she's passed away, but she was white, like very white, like Scotch Irish, right? And so my nephew, whose mom is biracial, half white, half South Indian, and she married a white guy, right? They have two kids. One, the daughter looks very, very much white. Like, you just wouldn't, like, I know that she has an Indian grandfather, so I kind of see it, but like, there's no way her average like friends know. Like, there's like a white girl, right? Like, she just looks blonde, long blonde hair, right? Her brother, like you might be like maybe like you got like a Spanish grandfather or some shit, like you got like a Portuguese grandfather somewhere down the line. I'm not quite sure, but I don't think people would notice that he's has an Indian grandfather. However, he told a story that he's in high school. He told a story that he's got a number of black friends, and they're like listening to music, and there's like some rap song came on, and the rap song has the N-word in it. I told you this story, Micah. And like the N-word's in the song, right? And they're all singing along or whatever, like, because they're in high school, like, whatever. And they ask him, they're like, yo, why are you not singing along to the song? He's like, it's the N-word. I'm not going to say that word. And they're like, why? Aren't you half black? He was like, yo, my grandfather's Indian. But black people are the only ones that saw something else. They were like, nah, yo, you're not just white. Like, they noticed it.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't 100% accurate, but they noticed that there was something in it. And that's his grandfather. Like, so we do see something in other people is those features, man. Like, and like, you can't run from that shit. You can't run from it. So like, don't try to hide. We'll find you. I'm sitting across from you in a hotel, eyeing you up, just like Claire. That was to get all the way back to the point. That's what I was going to say.
The two ladies. So Irene comes home one day and she sees their maid and Claire outside just chilling, right?
Irene's maid, who was a dark-skinned black woman, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Who's a dark-skinned black woman.
Very much so.
Very
like,
important.
On the one hand, hey, you're employing black people, but on the other hand, like, yo, you made her a servant, like, okay.
Right. But on the other hand, like, what other jobs were there?
Right.
That's the problem.
I get it.
I just took exception. She was very dismissive of her.
Well, yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of
she was like, yeah, I'm holding these bags.
Get your black ass in the kitchen and help me.
Yeah, get your ass out here. Let me talk get your ass out here. Let me talk to my white friend.
Right.
So
it's fucked up.
They go out there. They have a heart to heart. They basically come around and mention what I said earlier. Claire is jealous of Irene's moral attitude. Like, no matter what, you stiff upper lip and all that. And Irene kind of envied Claire's like vivaciousness and the fact that she's like Irene's boring. Is not.
Yeah, she's a prude.
And she is. Yeah, and she's very much kind of jealous of that.
Yeah, well, maybe have sex with your husband. You prude. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Before Claire
does. There's a quick
Man,
couple of scenes in this movie. There's a couple of scenes in this movie where Brian, Irene's husband, is talking about like black people being lynched and murdered and stuff like that. And the kids are maybe like, I don't know, 13 and 10, maybe.
Yeah, they're pretty young.
Yeah.
And he's talking about this stuff, and Irene is very much against that. And it's something that kind of is helping chip away at their marriage. And
I mean, what do you think? Of that?
I mean,
is that too young?
No, not nowadays. I don't think so. No, especially for these kids, like too young to talk about lynching. Like that's like 7. I think 7's a little too young to talk about that. 8, all right, maybe we could start having
I love the weird distinction. 8 years old.
Yeah.
You're ready now.
But no, those kids were old enough to know about stuff like this. And especially when like it's still going on. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's their version of the police speech that we will eventually have to give our kids. Right? What is the year that you do that? Like some people, when they're 16. 16 is way too late.
I mean,
yeah.
Shit. I mean,
Tamir Rice
got to be under 12.
Right. Tamir Rice was killed at 12 years old. Like that's like every time I hear about a young black kid being murdered by police, I'm like, how old were they? 11, drop the age again. Like, what the fuck? Like, we got to keep dropping the age. I guess like when they come out of the womb, we're like, and here's the list of things I need to tell you. Like, it's ridiculous, but yeah, I think it's under the age of 12 at this point. You want to play outside? You need to hear the speech.
We have to take into consideration, this is, again, 1920s Harlem. And I think the conversations were being had, especially in other parts of New York. Those conversations were being had at a much younger age. This movie was kind of like a Black community utopia, if you will.
Yeah.
There was, it was kind of, the Black people in this movie were upper middle class, upper class. They weren't experiencing the harsh reality of most Black folks, not only in New York City at the time, but across the country. So I think in other parts of the city back then, parents were having that conversation a lot younger. You didn't see parties in other parts of the city where there were Black people and white people interacting and dancing, and Negro men were dancing with white women. Like that didn't really happen that much, not in the 20s.
No.
Not in the 20s. Because if you think about it, even if you went into the Cotton Club back then, Black people were not allowed into the Cotton Club. You could have Black performers on stage,
right,
but they couldn't come in as guests. They couldn't come in as patrons. So this was a very different, and this could be, from the British white woman's perspective, who was the director of this actual movie. Again, I haven't read the book, so I don't know how it's portrayed in the book. But I think that, in the 20s, the conversations were being had. I will say that I appreciated that her two Black sons, their two dark-skinned Black sons, always seemed to be happy, always seemed to be engaged in things. And so I appreciated that, because we don't get enough of that on screen.
No, you don't. And I think it's ironic. Like, Irene's whole point is like, let them be kids, right? Like, they're happy-go-lucky kids. Like, let them continue being kids. And, her husband is like, that's all fine. Brian's like, yeah, that's all fine to be kids, but like, reality is reality, and we got to prep them for the world in which they live in, right? Like, we do live in this utopia, but they are going to find themselves outside of that utopia at some point, and we need to make sure.
And you can understand his perspective, because
100%.
This is the 20s, so he was at least born in the late 1800s.
Right.
So he's seen some stuff.
Yeah, he has,
and he's dark skinned, So,
and that means he has, parents and grandparents who went through some real, super real shit. And it's just like, nah, we need to make sure that this is very much at the forefront of their mind. So I get it. Look, I don't know when I will give. I don't necessarily have a distinctive date, or age when I will give my daughter like the cop speech. But I sprinkle that shit in. Like, I do right now. Absolutely. Like, when she sees a fire truck, she's like, fire truck's going to help somebody. And I'm like, that's right. She sees a cop car with a siren on. I'm like, she's like, they're going to help somebody. I'm like, maybe they are.
Maybe.
We hope so.
So sad.
Yeah. But that's what I tell her. Like, I'm not doing all that like cop propaganda. Like, nah, You need to understand that, like, there's no song called Fuck the Fire Department. There's a song called Fuck the Police for a reason. It's fact. It's true.
I never thought
Fuck
about
the
that.
EMT.
Let me write that
Like,
down.
nobody's ever wrote a song. No one has ever wrote a song about Fuck the Fire Department. Like,
so
no.
we have Licorice Stick. We have Licorice Stick now, and no Fuck the Fire Department.
I'm just
gotcha.
All right. As long as you're getting proper notes before you leave. That's what we try to do.
What do you think, Michael? What do you think about so you have a son, Jay has a daughter, you have a young son. What do you think about when you would have those conversations? How early?
Before or after you make him cut the grass on his own?
Yeah. It'll be after he cuts the grass.
Damn, 7?
Because he's going to cut the grass. He's going to cut the grass at 4.
4 years old. That's what work.
I think I will start because you don't want to introduce something so young that they don't understand, but you don't want to introduce it too late. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want him to go to first grade and be like, my daddy says you can't trust the police, right? Like that. I don't feel like that's something that will behoove him. But at the same time, probably around 10.
Okay.
Or depending on how tall he is, like how grown he looks.
Imposing. Yeah, how imposing
Yeah.
he could be.
Then
Yeah.
I have to,
Yeah.
like my wife is not. She might be average height for a woman, but I am slightly above average height for a man. So it's
So this fucking self congratulatory conversation.
Jay, you short? Jay, you saying
No,
short?
I am average height for an American male. I am a huge 5'9". Very large.
I am average height. I am average height for a point guard.
Fuck off. Fuck you. You can't dribble a basketball to
And
save your life.
can't play a lick of basketball.
Right.
Can't play a lick of it.
He loses track between his hands and the ground. They're so far away from each other.
You know I'm a sports journalist, right, Micah? That is very disappointing.
I know.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, I've been
disappointing
called
to
a waste
hear.
of height before. I've been called a waste of height. Family can be cruel, but probably around 10 or when he starts like really shooting up, whatever comes first.
Yeah, it's probably for the best.
So let me just pivot back to the movie for a quick second. The scene again where it was Claire and Renee in the apartment in the suite. Did you guys catch the part of the conversation where Claire was talking about her daughter? So she has one daughter, Marjorie, right? Who we really don't, and there was not a lot of character development with Claire in terms of her interactions with her family and white people. But she was talking to Claire. Claire has two sons, and she was saying to Claire how she loves boys, she loves sons, but with the one white daughter, she wouldn't risk it again. She wouldn't risk it again.
Oh yeah, she wouldn't risk having a child
Another
for fear that the child would come out dark.
Right.
And at that point in the movie, she was still very much in her like,
I'm passing, girl. I'm passing.
Right. If it ain't white, it ain't right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like she was still in that bag. But at this point in the movie, she's like, that like like Calvin Candy, that black tar, once it gets a hold of you, just keep pulling you in, pulling you in.
She wants a piece of the licorice. She wants a piece of the licorice.
So Claire,
Andre Holland was more than willing to give it to her.
So what did you guys think about that?
Well, we'll get to it. Claire admits that at one point, they're sitting on the stoop in front of the brownstone, and then she turns to Claire and is like, "Claire, you're too nice. I'm not like you. If I want something, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get it, right?" And then in the next scene, you see Claire chatting up Brian, and like it's stuff like this that's dropping clues as to what those possible choices at the end could have been, right? And the audience is made to infer that with the statement, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. If I see something, I'm gonna get it. Yeah. Right. And Reedy was like, yeah, all right, noted. Right. Noted. And then in that scene, right, they're chatting each other up, right? And the babysitter can't come. So Irene is like, yeah, and this is my interpretation. I think Irene thinks that they're having an affair already. And they and she's just like, okay, well, you two
fuck
go
'em.
ahead and go play
You fuck 'em,
bridge
so I don't
or
have to.
whatever. Right. And I don't know. Did anybody else get that? Am I tripping?
I did
why
not.
would she send?
I got
didn't.
it,
I
and
didn't
it
get
pissed
the
me
idea
off.
that they were already sleeping together.
I don't know.
No.
If I
I
felt
didn't get the
that.
idea that they were sleeping together.
I don't know if I
think
felt that,
that
but they were very inappropriate. They were very inappropriate.
Yeah, that I would agree.
I think
that I agree with.
I think Irene thinks that. I don't think that the two characters were sleeping together.
Oh, I
I
see.
think that Irene thinks that those two are sleeping together.
No, I don't get the impression. I didn't think that she thought they were sleeping together either.
I thought I got the impression that she thought that. I got the impression that she was jealous of Claire because Claire could bring out some type of, emotion in her husband that he wasn't giving her. But it continued to piss me off because I'm like, what woman, especially when we're talking about colorism here, what Black woman going to let a white woman or a white passing woman posy up to her husband like
I agree with
this?
that. Yeah.
They were when
that
they
to
would
me
walk
felt odd.
when they would go, like they went to the party. Claire and what's the husband's name again? I'm
Brian.
sorry.
Brian.
Claire and Brian were walking ahead of them in the front, like they were a couple. Renee was walking in the back. When they were at events, they were dancing together while Renee was sitting down over here. They were in constant conversation. He would make her laugh. She would make him laugh. I'm just like, And again, maybe this is my 21st century
you also have to
perspective.
think about you also have to think about the time period that this is in, right?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's my 21st century perspective. But I think if Renee is going to check her about, and it was a very calm checking, but nonetheless, check her about passing for white, why wouldn't she check her about overstepping her boundaries with her husband? Particularly because John is an asshole. It's not like, Renee could return the favor.
I think that is just what this character is, right? I think this character is cowardly. I think this character is meek, right? Like she's safe, right? And because that's how look at the way that Tessa Thompson plays this role. Look at how she carries herself. Very prim, very proper, quote unquote, acting white, right? She's acting like the stereotypical white housewife, whereas Claire is acting black, right? Like she's the life of the party or whatever, right? Like Irene has always been quote unquote boring, and she's very domesticated, right? Like she quote unquote knows her place, right?
I mean, again, this is my 21st century perspective. This is my 21st century perspective. I can be prim and proper, educated, domesticated, and you can still catch these hands if you're in my husband's face.
Plus, I know my two atheist friends here are going to agree, but
you too, Jay?
But this is very much steeped in religion. You know what I mean?
It is.
The man is, the man leads, the woman follows, and all that shit.
I mean, quite literally, like I'm gonna stand here.
Right.
You get your ass back over there, which is crazy to me.
I'm gonna stand back here while the two of y'all are up in front of me, walking and talking and caressing or whatever. It just bothered me. It's one of the reasons why I had a lot of faults with.
It's supposed to bother you. And I think it bothers Irene also, but she's steeped in that I can't really do anything about it because.
But to your point, Micah, the frustration builds up, and that leads to my interpretation of the ending. But the frustration builds up. It builds up.
Interpretation. Like, is there another way? All right, we'll get there. I don't think there's another way to interpret the ending. I know Micah is trying to be like really reasonable and be like, well, there's 3 options. There's not 3 options. There's 1 option.
Jay,
What the fuck? Get out of here.
So I know what I saw, but then I saw people online with kind of like, Micah's approach, like, maybe it was something different. So then I kept rewinding. I'm like, wait, y'all saw what?
Nah, yo. Nice. All right. Y'all giving Tessa Thompson too much credit. No. I know what was happening. I am nobody's fool. She played it perfect.
So,
something's going on. My bad.
So Irene stays home, right? So that Brian and Claire can go play bridge or whatever. We cut to another scene real quick of them.
Backgammon?
You ain't going to play cards with my husband. No.
Look. 1929 Twister was serious. All right, just let this man do what he got to do.
We cut to a scene of
you don't know the Newman women, apparently, both the light skinned ones and the dark skinned ones.
Hey,
no, my grandmother was a lot. I never met her, but I hear that she ran the show. So wasn't nobody, running up and playing cards in another room in another location without my grandmother there.
Look, I can't blame her.
So we have so a couple of scenes later, like she increasingly becomes a little more paranoid, right? Like Hugh talks about, Hugh makes some snide comment about Claire because he don't like her because she ain't paid fealty to him or whatever. And Brian defends her. And he was like, oh, okay. You quick to stick up for her, huh? And Claire's is like, yeah, you are kind of quick to stick up for her, right? So Irene attempts to cut off contact with Claire, right? And it turns out they're having a tea party. And I like this scene because Brian is like, oh yeah, Claire's downstairs. My bad. I invited her because I thought that y'all were cool, right? I thought y'all were cool. So I invited her. And so Irene is kind of getting drunk to kind of get through this shit.
As you do.
And she's walking with a teapot, right? She's walking with a priceless heirloom or whatever. It's a white teapot. And she sees Claire and Brian talking again, like hold it off in the corner talking and shit. And one of Claire's one of Irene's friends is like, hey, Irene, wait up. And then she comes over to Irene and they point out, she's like, look at them over there. I've been trying to talk to that woman for all day. She's just been holed up next to your husband all day. Man, when am I going to get a chance to talk to her? And Irene is just like, and then she fucking drops this white teapot, right? And foreshadowing, right? And she drops this thing, and Hugh comes over and is like, "Well,
that's one interpretation, Micah. That's a foreshadowing. It's only one."
So Hugh comes over and is like, he tries to help Irene save face, right? And she's like, "Oh, I must have pushed you. I'm sorry." And Irene, I want to get the quote here, man. She talks. She's like, no. She's like, no, don't don't worry about it. It was something that the Confederates, whatever, like this old ugly white thing over here in my house. I had never figured out a way of getting rid of this ugly white thing until just now by dropping it.
Or pushing
Inspiration.
It. Ooh.
All I had to do was break it, and voila, I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Again, that's one person's theory. That's one person's theory as to what it could possibly be. Jesus, people are dense. The scene is like so obvious. Like the thing is, but we skipped over something before we get to the goods, to the theories. Brian's relationship, if you want to call it that, with Claire is interesting in a number of ways. And I want to kind of jump back at this. He seems to have some sort of like fascination with Claire, right? She's the life of the party. His wife is much more of a prude, if you will. She's not giving up them draws. So he's like, oh, I mean, she's not, but he's like, oh, like what's this all about, right? And so he's interested in her from that. And I don't know if he's like, I want to cheat on my wife with you, but it could be that. Or it could be like, I just find you interesting and fun, like, which my wife is not, right? Like, it could be that sort of emotional cheating, not so much, physical cheating, which are equally bad, by the way. But there's also another aspect, which is Brian the entire time in this movie is like, we need to take our kids and move out of this country. Like, I want to move to somewhere in Europe where my kids will be safe. Like, get the fuck out of here. Him meeting Claire is a part of that, right? Like his fascination with Claire is a part of that. This like, she's lived all over. She's, her kids were thinking about going to boarding school and somewhere in like in Scandinavia, she mentions. So like, she's more worldly. She's not just this black woman who's only lived in the United States. So she falls in line with all of the things that he wants for his future. And she's black, but she's also pretending to be white, right? Like, so it's like she somehow covers both patterns. Like, so it's interesting, and it makes a lot of sense why he would be so like fascinated with her in one aspect or another. So,
I mean, I guess he thought she was Josephine Baker, so maybe he wanted to move to France or something like that.
Well, the movie said that he wanted to move to Brazil at one point.
Yeah, he said that at one point, which, I mean, I'm not really familiar with 1920s Brazil, so I'd have to look that up. I mean, Brazil has a lot of brown people. But I was taken aback by what his impression of Claire was before he met her. Because when Irene initially described who she was and that she was this, black woman from her childhood who was passing for white, he wouldn't know part of it. He wouldn't know part of it. And then he met her and encountered her personality, which was the complete opposite of Rainey. And he was enthralled. He was captivated by it. He was enthralled by it. And I'm just like, I don't know how to characterize this without, again, looking at it from my 21st century lens. Right. Because there's a part of me that is just like, okay, he's looking at someone who's the complete opposite of his wife, because there are clearly a lot of issues going on between him and Renee that they don't discuss.
Right.
But then there's also a part of it where I'm just like, this is another black man looking at white women's tears, even though she's not a white woman. But that's how she's perceived. That's how she's carrying herself. So it was really weird for me to see the dynamic of that particular relationship. And again, I was just taken aback that Renee did not speak up. But like Micah said, this is her character. Like she's a prude. She's very muted. She has no voice. She has no voice.
Well, but that idea, right? That a black man is seen as caring more or more interested in that moment of this quote unquote white woman over his own black wife is I mean, that's pretty, again, this being directed by, one could argue, a white woman, right? Like, I mean, I know she is like a, biracial mom.
She's, I mean, what, 1/4 white if we're keeping score? I'm sorry, 1/4 black.
Right.
1/4 black if we're keeping score. Yeah.
So, and I try not to do that to people. Like, I guess my question is like, does she identify as white or does she identify as biracial? I don't think that she does identify as biracial, but I don't know. So,
no, so I've looked up a lot of her interviews. She has said that she really has no connection to the black community, and of course, Black Twitter went at her. But I'm like, well, why would she? And
why she don't? What the people?
She's not even 1/4 because her mother is biracial. right? So it's more like 1/8 or something
Right,
like it's a drop. It's a drop.
Right. Like, come on,
And if
guys.
you
Like,
were to look
we
at
get
her,
mad
you
at
would
her
never
for.
be able to tell. You would never be able to tell, but it does beg the question, like, what was Brian thinking in terms of how he perceived Claire versus how he was looking at Renee, who, again, Renee is not a dark-skinned Black person like him.
Right.
You know,
Right. Like,
so
it's right. Like, does he pick Renee because she's light? Like, you don't know, right? Like, I'm not a fan of this movie that I'm about to mention, but it does make for a very good bit of like addition to this conversation, which is School Days, right? Like, there's that whole I'm not a fan of it. I think it's Spike's worst movie, honestly, but there's that moment. Okay, no, Chirac is probably his worst, actually, as I think about it.
We can go there. Okay, so this is another. I'm gonna have to come on for another podcast where we break down Spike's movies because she's gotta have it. No, sir. No, sir. No.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's all right. That's not unfair.
It was his first movie, guys. And School Days was his second movie.
Yeah. No, that I solidly put it on School Days and Chirac. I don't hate.
I mean. I think, where are you from, Jay?
I'm from here, from Baltimore.
Okay, so Baltimore is not my from here. I'm a DC girl. That's
no. My square is Baltimore. I'm from here, right here.
Yeah, DC. But I think because we're all from the area, right? I think we kind of look at School Days a little bit differently because it has the go-go background. So because of that. Yeah. See, that's why I say you're not from here. That's why I say you're not from here.
Look, I don't like listening to look. I'll say it. Look. I will say this officially on this show for all our DC fans. I prefer Baltimore club music over the sound of pots and pans being banged on, which is go-go music. I'm sorry.
I prefer Baltimore club music over ghetto reggae. That's all go-go is.
I mean,
it's like Liz has left the chat. Like, it's like, I'm done.
I prefer go-go music, which has had a national, international.
We have a documentary about Black Baltimore
over, like the Wire theme songs. Like what?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
We
really
look,
we're not gonna have you on here no more. We're not gonna have you on here. Don't do that. That's offensive. But look, no,
How is Dog and Go-Go not?
No, that's allowed. There's two of us. There's one of you. That's how it works.
Yeah,
it's not fair. It's not fair.
I am big. I'm a little person. I'm only 5'3" without heels, but I am big mouth, big E. So I'm representing all DC. DC go what? And you were dancing to the butt. You were.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And that's the whitest go song.
It is. Even white people know that song.
Yeah.
So yeah, look.
Like Michael wasn't dancing to the butt though. I saw his reaction. I'm like, ooh, Michael, were you just standing up against the wall?
That's because I can't dance. I can't dance. I can't dance at all. You just see the video of me at my wedding.
I was there. It was awesome.
What did he look like, Jay? What did he look like?
No, he was doing his best Michael Jackson impression. It was pretty good. Like, I would like to give him the man a lot of credit. It was pretty good. You hearing that from me? It must have been pretty good.
Yeah, you ain't never seen it again.
So, but going back to the movie, because we're wrapping up here. Like, going back to the movie, like, I think it's interesting to have this Black man caught between, like, you don't know, you can't quite tell, and I think that might be the point. You can't quite tell if he is focused on skin tone, how they are passing or not passing, their personality, or the opposite of that with, one woman to the next. Like, where does his interest lie? And I feel like part of Brian's character is trying to represent a guy who is like, he's looking at more than just the skin tone, but like he can't get away from that either, right? Like because to pretend that her passing as white is not interesting to him would be bullshit. Like it clearly is, even though she looks absurd.
In the beginning, he again before he met her, he was offended by it, but then it became intriguing. It became more intriguing to him.
Yeah.
But earlier, I'm gonna go to bat for Brian. I think Brian is 100% innocent in everything that he does in this, because I'm a black man and black men have to stick up for black men. It's the rule,
right? Also, watch The Nick if you like him in this, you asshole. Please watch The Nick. He's so good in it.
All right, maybe 3 years from now. But after he meets her for maybe the first time, in bed with Irene. Irene is like, "Oh, I do declare, she's quite a lovely young lady." and Brian is like, I mean,
she aight.
She might be the best looking white woman I've ever seen, but I like them dark, right? Like, and he obviously is joking, but I think he very much loves his wife.
He does.
I think he's just enamored with an interesting person. Not necessarily because of skin tone and all that, but because she's fucking fun, and he's not having fun in his marriage. Now, it goes a little, it pushes a little, it goes a little too far.
Yeah, I mean, being holed up in the party talking to her is like, that feels like emotional cheating. That's not acceptable to me.
That's not cool. Like, that's real disrespectful, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But again, you got to look at the time period, right? Men, if you think men just kind of rule shit now, they really did in the roaring 20s.
Yeah.
Where everybody was fucking living it up. So, like, I get it, but I think, I don't know if this dude has like a fetish or whatever, right? Like, he's got some like light skin fetish, like all these. Yeah, I don't get that either. But I just think I think he's enamored with an incredibly interesting person, and he has been married for, we can presume, 13 years with someone who is, and things have gotten stale. Now, you at that point you got to talk to each other, right? Like, and they're not talking to each other.
Talk,
and that's their problem.
Right? Jay's like,
you just yell at each other. They don't talk. Get out of here. It's boring.
I thought you were going to say something completely different, Jay. So I appreciate that you said yell. I appreciate that you said yell.
Hey, look! I'm an advocate of doing whatever you can to make things work, whatever it is you need to do.
My quick question about Claire: were you guys interested, or did you miss how she navigated as a passing black woman who was passing for white? Did you miss or yearn to see how she navigated through the white world?
Yeah,
I wanted her interactions with her.
Yeah, I wanted more of that, but I think the story is how much she misses being black. I think that's the focus of the story. But I would have liked to see that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I got that.
To me, that's the passing. To me, and I think that was what I missed the most, because to me that was the passing, not just the yearning, but I wanted to see like how she acted around white people, how she listened to white people talk about black people. If the white people around her called her nig, if her daughter called her nig, how light her daughter is.
Right.
That was some of the things that I was missing about her character. That would have made it a bit more real for me. And maybe I wouldn't have been as harsh in terms of the characterization. I felt like I missed something from Claire. And I get that she missed black folks and she missed, the licorice and all that stuff. But I felt like I needed to see how the grass was greener on the other side for her.
Yeah.
I think I got all that I could stand from that opening scene with her, John, and Irene in that hotel room. I did not want to see more of that, right? Like that's why Irene was fucking pissed. And I get it, like, yo, you a sellout, yo. Like you a race trader, yo. Like I don't want to see,
But Micah,
I don't want
by
to see a
then,
black person on
by
screen
then,
being a race
I was
trader.
already fired up after Pickaninny. I was already fired
That
up
was
after
12
Pickaninny
seconds
in
into
first
the
2 minutes.
movie.
Exactly. I was already fired up. So now I want you to go for it. Like, give it all to me. Give it all to me. Give me this complete story.
That's fair.
You know. But yeah, so are we at where some folks
Not
think
yet.
that the ending? Okay, all right.
There's one point that I wanna point out real quick to help to help strengthen your point. The Irene and her black friend are out shopping and they're walking down the street, and
That's
John
okay.
sees, and John is like, "Oh, hey, Irene, how you doing with this nigger? What? Wait, are you a huh? What?"
You could feel it coming
And-
off of his tongue. You can feel it coming off of his tongue.
Yeah, I've never hated
And-
I've never hated Alexander Skarsgård more than in this. Quite literally never hated him more.
I don't hate him. He's still the fine Swede. He's still the fine Swedish
His
guy.
father should be disappointed. He should replace him with one of his 9 brothers and sisters who are actors.
I was about to say his father got kids all over the place. He can't.
Yeah, all Stellan
He can't
Skarsgård
talk.
does is make fucking stellar actors. That's all he does.
So,
But it's a
so
powerful
this
scene.
happens, right?
It's a powerful scene.
This happens, and Irene goes to try and call Claire, and she picked up the phone. She, dials dispatch or whatever. I don't know how phones work in the 20s. And she's
Operator.
like, "Is Claire there?" "No." "Okay." And she says,
Okay.
and she says, and here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Like the person on the other end is like, "She's not here, but I can try to find her. Is it urgent?" And Irene says, "No, it's not urgent."
When Irene called, initially she said it was urgent. And
Yeah, then she changed her mind.
She changed her mind. She had second thoughts.
It's like,
But Micah,
don't worry about
how do
it.
you think Claire's husband found out?
He put 2 and 2 together.
I never thought he was that
no,
smart.
no.
I never thought he was that smart.
He's not a moron. Like, what is this nigga doing with my white
He been
wife?
sleeping with that nigga for how many years? Like, I don't think he was that smart. I felt like
all he had to do was think back and be like, damn, she was putting it on me for a number of years.
I knew so. I was waiting for one of y'all to say that. I was waiting for one of y'all to say that.
I'm an asshole. Sorry.
But neither one of you thinks that Claire maybe told him?
No. I think he figured it out. The second he realized that, why would I put it together this way. He sees Irene. He's like, "Oh, you were the black woman. Wait a minute. Y'all kind of look alike. Because all y'all look alike." But then,
Finally, I see it.
right,
Finally, I see
the
it.
fucking
Why
the
would,
rose color.
Why would a white woman be walking hand in hand with a black woman down the street, right?
Right. So once he figured that out,
maybe you're black.
right,
Maybe you're black.
right, and
You're
then my
childhood
wife,
friends with my wife,
right,
who
and
gets
my
dark
wife,
all the time.
right, and my wife doesn't hang around black people, right? That's what she says. So you would either have to be white in order for my wife to be hanging around you, and clearly you are not. So my wife is clearly lying. So no, I don't think he needed anybody. I think it took him about 45 seconds once he got home. He was just eating mayonnaise and he got mad and he was like, "Oh shit, I figured it out." And then he fucking stormed to that party. I assume that's what white people do, is they just eat mayonnaise. I don't know.
What do you?
I'm just being a dick. But Just calm down, white Twitch watchers. No, it's a joke, but no, in all honesty, I think he just figured it out from that. Like, I mean, to me, it seems pretty obvious.
I think I never gathered that he, had these problem solving skills, if you will.
Fair
I
enough.
still think a part of me thinks that, Irene dropped the dime.
No,
That's how I saw it.
She dropped something. I don't think it's a dime. Just say that.
To your point.
Okay, Irene dropped the shilling.
How did he know?
Dropped the shilling.
To your point, the question is, how did he know where to show up? Right? That's the only thing that I can't wrap my head around.
That's a fair question.
How did he know where to show up?
Because Irene dropped the shilling, and she wasn't the least bit concerned when she heard the commotion, and then she saw that it was him. It was like.
So let's hurry up and get to that point, right? Because there's one thing I want to talk about real quick, or one thing I want people to know real quick before we get to the point. So they're going to a party. It's a 6th floor walk up, and
my wife wants us to live in New York so bad. I'm not looking forward to that.
Jay, you can live there. You do not have to live in a walk up. You don't have to.
I refuse. I refuse. Not living like a pauper.
You're going to pay a little bit of money, but you don't have to live in a walk up. I lived in New York City for 18 and a half years. My first apartment for the first 12 years was a 2nd floor walk up.
Too far.
So I didn't have to go through that. But watching that scene, I'm like, are you fucking kidding? What? No. And in 1920s,
even Brian was like, look.
You got on a suit if you're a guy. You got on a hot dress if you're a woman. Nah. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Brian was like, look, don't get tired after the 4th floor because I can't carry you.
Yeah, he said that shit too. Yeah.
But he said that. But then did you wonder which one he would carry if he had to?
Well, he carried the poor white woman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like,
so when they get up there, Irene asked Claire, she was like, what would you do if John found out? And Irene was like, I would do what I want to do. I would come live in Harlem with you and take your man.
Yeah, you talking mad bold.
Take your man hunting. Take your man hunting.
But she had the perfect opportunity right then and there to say, hey, John saw me on the street. Like, you might want to get out of here or something like that. And she didn't, right? So they're at this party. John learns the truth. He somehow figures out where they are. And he forces himself into the party, right? He forces himself into the party. Irene starts walking towards the window next to Claire, who is at an open window smoking a cigarette. And she moves closer and closer to the sill. And John is admonishing Claire. She's like, you dirty nig. I was like, wait, that's a pet name.
Liar.
You lied to me. You liar. You lied to me. And he lunges after her. And the film is edited. He lunges after her. You see a quick cut of Irene's hand going across Claire's waist. Then quick cut back to John as he's like, oh, shit, right? And all of a sudden, we find out that Irene is, in mid-flight, so to speak.
Claire's in
mid-flight.
Now
look, Claire's in mid-flight.
Yeah, Claire is in mid-flight. Look, Claire, as she's being admonished, she's crying, right? Like, so look, here are the 3 scenarios that I've seen online, right? 1, John pushed her. Right? A fit of rage, John pushed her and then immediately was like, oh shit, like, what the fuck? I pushed her. I didn't really mean to do that, right? 2, Claire, so tired of living a lie, refuses to go back to that type of life. with John and or face whatever consequences might happen. And she commits suicide. 3, the way the film is cut and the way all of the breadcrumbs are laid out within the film, that Claire is pushed by Irene.
Yeah,
I personally
I'm going
think
suicide angle. I mean, it's the obvious one, right?
I personally think it is the last one.
Okay, guys.
But I personally think it's the last one. But
Yeah,
I don't know if it was. But I don't know if it was conscious, right? Like I don't know. I wouldn't go as far as
It was
to
like
say,
a tick. You think it's like
here's
a
my
tick?
perfect opportunity. It might. I
You
mean,
know,
look, it
was
might
like
have
a
been
tick,
like her.
involuntary reaction.
Look. I mean, kind of, yeah. Like
No,
I don't think she was. I
no.
don't think she was out like, yo.
No.
She's not that type of person. Yo.
Nah,
We see
yo.
that she is a weak. She's a weak person. She's not gonna do that shit intentionally.
These are the
It's
people
gonna-
you
it's-
gotta look out for. They're pretending to be weak. They're murderers, killers. Nah, yo. She did that shit on purpose. She did.
Also, I think
Yo,
I can speak for the feminine wilds here. She wanted to push that bitch out the window.
That's all I'm saying, yo.
Time
That's all I'm saying.
ago.
Look, Chris
A
Rock
long
was
time ago.
Look, Chris Rock was right when he talked about years ago in that stand-up. Every woman's got that woman at her job. It's like, this bitch is trying to destroy me. Yeah, that's the server fucking situation. She was like, she gotta go. She gotta go.
I never thought that there was any question about the ending and what happened until I went online and I started to see the critique.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wait, what? So let me look at this again. People think that Irene didn't push her?
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
wow. Okay.
No,
All
she
right.
100%.
So some people I've seen online, people think that the cut to Irene's hand across Claire is Irene trying to protect Claire. And then I've seen like, well, she's trying to protect her because some dude is coming after her, and then she mistakenly did it. Irene did that shit.
The teapot,
Irene did that shit.
you pointed out, the teapot scene 15 minutes ago in the movie is a foreshadowing moment of what this is. That's it. Like, here's this white teapot that I'm gonna break. Oops. I mean, you could maybe you could make the argument that she pushes her by mistake. She mistakenly drops the teapot. She mistakenly pushes her, right? Because she gets overly emotional in that moment. You could say that. But it ain't the white man who pushes her out the window, dude. It's 100%.
You can see it in
Irene.
his face. You can see it in his face. Like, I'm looking at this thing right now, and he's like,
oh, well,
I also think-
and you can see it in Brian's face when she walks downstairs. When she looks at him, he has the face of like, oh, that's what the truth is.
But in addition to Brian, I think you can see it to all of the other party goers' face because they know what happened, but they are not going to throw this black woman, Irene, under the bus because the police still think that Claire's a white woman.
Right.
We're not going to tell, them that this black woman pushed this other white woman out the window. That's certifiable lynching for her. So we just going to be like, I don't know. Like, no one said anything. No one said anything. And it happened very fast, but also it happened in kind of slow motion. And so I feel like, the community surrounded Renee in that moment. She did a hell of an acting job in crying.
Yeah,
but I do think she was sad. I don't think it was all acting. I do think that she was sad in the reality that it came to this and that she played a part in it. But in the beginning, before I started going online, the internet, there was nothing about me that thought that she didn't kill her, that she didn't push her.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Like, I don't know. It seemed pretty obvious to me. But again, the teapot scene, the foreshadowing scene, that's what read obvious to me. Like when the ending came up, because I didn't know what the ending was. I never read the book. And thinking back, I'm like, okay, yeah, the teapot scene. Like, that was the point of that. This thing I want to get rid of. Like, I never thought about a way to get rid of it. Yeah. Under like surprise stress, that's what happened. I don't think it's necessarily on purpose, but it absolutely was what she did.
Yeah, I think she did it. I don't know if she necessarily did it. You know, I don't know if she did it on purpose, but I think
as a woman, I'm telling you, she did it on purpose.
Good.
See, this is why we needed a woman's perspective.
That's right. You say it.
Because she was at that party all night, and once again, Brian was not interacting with her. Brian was not talking with her. He was up in the corner, all hugged up with Claire. And then Claire went to some other black man for a moment. So it was just like, I don't matter. No one sees me. Oh, what was his name? Chris from The Wire.
Yep.
Chris from The Wire. Yep. I mean, I don't like Baltimore, but I love The Wire.
Relax.
No, you get it. Yeah, I get it. You love The Wire because it shows Baltimore as a piece of shit. Like, I get it.
No, I love The Wire because it was great. It was a great script, and the men were fine as shit.
That's not why I love The Wire, but like all of those things before the end.
So
Idris Elba is
Irene,
quite handsome.
Irene is in shock, and
oh no! You guys want to go to Waffle House? I don't give a fuck. Let's go. Speed it.
And eventually she comes downstairs. Everybody's like, and I love this scene because it's filmed so well, right? Because, and I'll tell you why people think that she fell or whatever in a second, but the scene is filmed so well because as you mentioned earlier, you got all these black people talking to these cops. It's 1929, you know, like cops they don't fuck with us now. They ain't fucking with us back then either. And Irene comes down. She's like, is she dead? And she's like, yes, right. She's dead. And the cop, Irish McPatty, he's like, hey, your husband seems to think that the victim's husband, the white guy, pushed her. Is that what happened? Because you were right there. Is that what happened? And she's and then you see a quick cut of this dude, and he's looking at her like, come on now, don't fuck this up, right? And then she goes, no, I think she fell. I think she fell on her own, and it was just a mistake. And that's why people are taking this character at her word, right? Like that it was purely an accident.
Right.
It's because she has no backbone. She has no she has no voice.
Right.
You know, she can't
Exactly.
Speak. She can't speak.
Which is why I don't think she did it on purpose. I think it was just it was reflex. I think this was I don't think it was,
I agree with you.
I don't think I don't think she was just like,
Micah,
She's not diabolical.
Micah, I said she can't speak. I didn't say she couldn't move. I said she couldn't speak.
Oh, she can move.
She can move.
Her arms were
just
just fine. Get your ass out of here. She was that part was not a problem.
On my husband one too many times. Oh
yeah.
Or as Miss Piggy would say,
yeah.
Yes.
Yo, she's like, you gotta get the fuck out of here.
Out of here.
But that idea of I don't think personally it's an ambiguous ending, but obviously some people do. The idea of the ambiguous ending of this woman's life, in this situation is interesting, right? Like the cops, it's also like kind of funny, right? The cops are like, oh, black people, what do you think happened? Oh, is that what happened? All right, cool, no problem. All right, good night, everybody. Like, no, they're arresting some black person for this, right? Like, in reality, like, either it's Tessa Thompson's character or somehow Andre Holland is guilty, like just because, like you dark
Again,
and you're a man, like it's getting the paddy
the
wagon.
Black utopia. That's what happens when you have a non-Black American running the show for this story, because we all know that's not how that would have played out here.
Never.
In real life.
Never. Now, granted,
Even in
this is from 1929, right? The novel was written in 29, right?
It
Like, that's
probably would have
nonsense.
been worse. It probably
100%.
would have been worse.
100%.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, man, I dug it. I thought it was I don't want to say fun, but it was a very enjoyable film.
So let me ask this.
Hey, I enjoyed it, man.
Both women. Do you think both women passed well? Because this is passing. Do you think both women passed well?
What, do they look white? Like, could they pass?
No.
I mean, it's hard for me to.
No. Not in terms of the casting, but in terms of how they were navigating society. Do you think they passed well?
I honestly can't give a legitimate answer because I don't think we saw a lot of that. Like I think the movie had more to do with people passing and then having to live in their normal Black society, right? Like, so that was the core of what the story was, of like, what does passing do once you are passing? What happens when you have to go home, right? Which is an interesting.
Jay, do you think?
Which is an interesting.
Do you think the other Black people knew that Claire?
That's a good question, by the way. Like, there's no implication of what way they thought. I assume that they recognized that she was Black, right? Because she's like in the inner circle. Like when she's at the party where John busts in, there's no white people there, right? This is not like the party earlier where it's like Harlem, like everybody's having a good fucking time doing the Charleston and it's like mixed race. Like it was just a Black ass party. Like there was no white people there. I assume that they also realized that she was Black. And it's weird because I would assume that other Black people who know a Black person is passing as white would treat them differently. But they never did, which is odd. Maybe they didn't know she was passing as white. I don't know.
They didn't know. Maybe I got the feeling that, you know, the subject was never broached, right?
Right.
Because the only person that would know that is Claire and Brian. Claire,
Irene and
you
Brian.
know. Yeah, Irene and Brian. God damn. Just fucking white ass names. Irene and
See,
Brian.
that's how well they're passing.
Hey, I don't necessarily have an ethnic name. What?
Yeah.
My name is Elizabeth Eleanor.
Oh,
Be careful.
Convenient.
Yeah. My name is Micah.
Jay?
Shut up.
Yeah, Jay's not
Jay?
really. It's not. I'm not gonna tell you what my middle name is, but that shit is not passing at all.
Well, my first name
No,
is
it's not.
Elizabeth
No,
Eleanor.
it's not. It's not. Nah, yo, they got me. They got me dead to rights.
Black ass middle name.
Yeah,
Boy.
dead to rights, man.
My name is Elizabeth Eleanor Newman. I mean,
Oh no,
there's
no, you
nothing
good.
ethnic-
You good. Oh, you good. You
that
getting
ain't
no,
nothing
you getting that
ethnic
job.
about that name.
No, you getting that when you send your resume and you getting that
Yeah.
job. You getting that job. You got it.
You named after Betsy Ross and Eleanor Roosevelt? Oh, yeah.
Oh, you owe money. I see you. You can have this job twice. Go ahead. Then they see my middle name. They're like, "Oh, nice try, buddy. You almost had us. Though my last name is very Black, so it doesn't really work either.
Do you
All right.
think one
Go
quick
ahead.
question? What about the fact that Claire didn't have any, aside from Irene, Claire didn't have any Black female friends? Did that say anything to you?
Well, you said Claire didn't have any Black female friends?
Claire didn't have any Black friends at all.
I mean, she didn't
But
have
the
any,
men-
she
I
didn't
mean,
hang
the
around Black
men-
people at all.
Except the men. But the women...
Or you mean Irene?
No. I mean Claire. Claire was the white one who wanted to come back into the Black life, right?
Right.
But she kind of only sought out Black men. Like there wasn't
Oh,
any...
she misses the magic stick. I get it. I mean, right? Like that feels obvious. Does that not feel obvious? She had Alexander Skarsgård at home, and then Audrey Holland was like, "What's up?" And she was like, "Bet." I'm just saying, yo.
And so then I'm just going to get into it. Like, I don't believe Alexander Skarsgård was not putting it down at home. And that's just me and my
Yeah, I feel like that's
interpretation
just
of
you.
Norman.
That's you believing that.
Yeah,
you and your
it's
head
not.
canon. That's
Nah.
what that is.
Right. I
know
believe
he's
that.
putting it down. And I was about to say though,
I
see
feel
her
as
getting
though
off on that.
okay.
I can see her getting off on that. You know, he putting it down, Nig.
No, I don't like race play. I don't like race play. Get out of here.
Whose pussy is this? You don't, but I think Claire did.
Nah, get out of here.
I think
I
Claire
think black
did.
people that like race play, something wrong with y'all, man. Something wrong with black people that like race play.
Yeah, I'm not into it. I'm not into it. You can't do
Give me
that.
this nigger cock. Nope, turn that right off.
I'm not saying I like it, but you don't think something was wrong with Claire? Like, I think that was totally Claire's mindset. 100%.
I just wanted to say that phrase. That's
yeah. I happened to find a video that did that. I was like, this is unacceptable. I'm gonna keep watching, but it's unacceptable.
As soon as she started smiling and like, oh, when he said, I'm like, girl, yeah, y'all got some other shit going on in the bedroom that is not.
Look, that's 100% possible. 100% possible. Look, I mean, race play is a real thing that some people have. Not me. Like,
not me.
Nah, yo,
not
nah.
Me
You're not going to look. I don't mind having fun. But like in the words of a great character, Tom, it's been a spicy talk, a spicy pillow talk. Like I'm not. There's a line, man. There's a line. Relax.
It's the quickest way for you to get cussed out. Quickest way for you to get cussed out.
Quickest way you get the fuck out of my bedroom. Get the fuck out of here.
And then that. No. You're gonna get cussed out. Maybe catch a hand first.
Yeah,
and then it's over.
I can't do that.
That's,
but like
that's all the spicy you getting. That's all the spicy you getting.
Nah, you can't. You can't do that. You got to make. That's got to be sanctioned. Like you got to check first before you come. Like you can't start in the bedroom and just like can't be guesswork. You can't.
But I just felt like there was a part of Claire that got off on that. That's what that was the energy that she was giving me. That was the energy she was giving me.
I mean, I feel like Claire was cool with just about anything as long as she could continue having her life.
Right. I think she was cool with anything until she realized, oh shit, like these are actually my people, right? Like that's why this movie is great, right? Like Claire literally loses her identity. She loses her blackness. I don't know if she lost it more so as she gave it up, right?
Yeah.
And then she realized she made a mistake. And you know, we're talking all this shit about Claire, but I feel bad for Claire. I feel bad for both of them. You know, I find those characters to be incredibly interesting, right? Like it's.
And so again, this is where I challenge the character development because I'm just like, she only felt a camaraderie with her people when she was dancing or, you know, cozying up to a black man. Like that's not what black culture is about.
Yeah, but think about it from a white woman's perspective.
A wannabe white woman's perspective, but go ahead.
It is, right? When white people think about what black culture is, it's music, food, dancing. Like that's it. Right? They don't understand the nuance. But she's been out of that culture for so long. I can understand why she would think. I'm not saying it's right, but I can understand why she would think that is what black culture is in its entirety.
And don't forget, she grew up black.
Right. She grew up
like she grew up 18 years as black.
We never, and this is where I had a problem with the character development because we never got an image of her of seeking the full black experience of how she grew up.
That's fair.
All we got was her seeking black dick, and you know, let me dance. You know, let me back it up real quick. That's all we got.
In fairness, that's a lot of white women in their 20s. I'm just saying, like that's a lot.
Well, she wasn't 20.
I'm just saying, but no, I'm just saying.
And she wasn't a white woman. She was not a white woman.
But she wanted to be.
Conversion to white? I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I think she was very cognizant of who she was and how she was trying to dip back and forth. I think she was very cognizant.
I don't know if she was dipping back and forth per se, but her speech about how she would do anything to get what she wants, I took that as the reason why she initially started to do this, right? Like she initially started to kind of renounce her race, right? Because she wanted a better life for her. And look, I could be reading way too much into this, but I think that's why she started doing it, because she wanted more. She wanted more out of life, right? And she thought that, oh, okay, well, money is what's gonna get me that. Now, it's foul, it's real foul that once she realizes that, oh, black people are smart too, and black people are rich too, and black people have servants too. So you mean I could have still had all the shit that I have now and retain my blackness? Oh, that's great. I'm just going to come in here and just kind of insert myself into this. That's foul, yo. Like, nah, yo, you made your choice, right? Like you can't skip the line, so to speak, right? Like, I think, but that's to us as a people, right? How many times do we often say on this show, we forgive each other way too easily? We forgive each other. We are quick to forgive.
No.
How we are.
No, we are
Y'all
way too
quick
fast
to
you guys are way too fast to forgive white people. White people.
No, black people too.
No,
I know.
Black people. Black people forgive black people.
Yeah,
yo.
black people.
No, I know. We do. I know we do.
Especially entertainers.
Oh, all right. Please don't. But I do think
listen to Chris Brown, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking nuts.
Who is? Not me.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, not me. I don't really listen to R&B. But anyway, like, I know. New school
I say
R&B.
that I was gonna say I give that
New
face.
school.
I only listen to 80s, 90s. Like I don't listen to any contemporary.
Anything 70s back, I will listen to.
Maybe Silk Sonic, Bruno.
All right. I mean, who doesn't like that?
Whether or not that's
Really
R&B, but
those dudes are
this
having
shit
a
they
blast.
got out here today. No. We
No,
old
it's not
school.
for me.
So my final question to the panel. I know we're trying to get off because we didn't want to go like really late. But my final question to the panel: did you guys watch? Are you guys fans of Law and Order?
Yes, of course.
Familiar with Law and
It's
Order?
on all the time.
Familiar with it.
Not enough, in my opinion. But do you remember the episode 19? I believe it was 1997. The episode is called Blood. It was about passing. There was a male character in the episode whose wife had been killed, right? In the investigation, it turns out that this white male was passing. He had an white ex-wife. They had a kid. That kid was white. The new wife, they had a kid that they gave up for adoption because she was a very dark-skinned black baby. Okay. And because the ex-wife did not want her tea to be told, they were very rich, high society. The ex-wife killed the new wife because the new wife wanted the baby back. She was like very guilty. And so there's a scene in there where no one knew he was passing. He looked like the actor is a white male. Lieutenant Van Buren, the black lieutenant, got him in the room and was like, "Hey, my brother, I know it's been hard for you all these years. How you pass this long?" Like she called him out. And even when she tried to touch him to comfort him, he recoiled. And she was like, "Ain't nobody touch you like that since your mammy." And this movie made me think of this. Like, yeah, there are a lot of people. There were back in the day. I don't know how many people are passing out, but there were a lot of people back in the day who were going through the system and hoping that nobody black would see them. Hoping that nobody black would see them.
Look, in 2020, right now, passing is very much a thing, but it's the other way. Isn't it? That's the irony, right? Like there was a whole thing.
About Rachel?
There was but there was also a huge thing on Instagram of all these white chicks blackfishing, right? Pretending to be black, darkening their skin or whatever to get people to like buy their brand or be into them, follow them, pay money for their, I don't know, OnlyFans or whatever shit. But like, it was a bunch of white women passing as black. Like, the tables have weirdly turned, is that white women are trying to pass as another ethnicity for popularity, which is super interesting, right? How about we do this? How about we do this as a society? Just be your fucking selves. Like, just be yourselves and not be a bunch of ignoramuses. I know it's crazy and it's hard, but you could just be yourself. But yeah, the tables have turned where white women are trying to pretend to be black to get black dudes to buy into their whatever fucking Instagram.
Which is weird because like black dudes don't need like black dudes love white women. Like, get the fuck out of here.
That's
Right, like,
right.
do you really need to pretend to be black? Like, look,
Like,
my
look
Instagram,
at
my
damn
Instagram
every
is
athlete.
look, my Instagram is chock full of everybody. I don't give a shit. Whatever. You don't gotta pretend to be nothing. White, black, Latina, whatever, Asian, it's fine.
I mean, I certainly ain't pretending. I don't want you to pretend to me. I sure ain't pretending to be anybody else but who I am.
No,
This is
and
what
you
you get.
shouldn't. You shouldn't.
This is what you get, you know.
Like,
Even when I wear my hair straight, I ain't pretending. I just don't feel like combing through my curly shit. So we're gonna do
Right.
straight today.
And that, look,
Like it's
right, and that's okay.
ain't no pretending.
I will never forget one of my prouder moments is absolutely destroying a friendship to someone who thought the Rachel Dolezal shit was an interesting thing in society. And I was like, it's not fucking interesting. Fuck off. Like, it's not interesting. It's not interesting at all. It's a white woman utilizing her power to decide if she's white or black, depending on the moment. It's not interesting. And I absolutely lost that person as a friend. I've never talked to them again. And I don't give a shit.
So let me just say, one of my co-hosts on a podcast that I may appear on said, he believes that, Rachel, I don't even know how to pronounce her last name, Dolezal, I guess.
Dolezal.
We can't tell her how she should feel about her ethnicity.
Disagree.
Oh, that sounds like Neo.
No, disagree.
I didn't say it, but we had a show about it, and I was like,
no, I disagree. I 100% disagree.
She has two white parents. She lied and said this random black dude was her father. This other random black kid, which was her adopted brother. She said that was her kid. Like, it was a whole big old conspiracy, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right. It's not like I get it. People are trying to be so liberally minded, and I'm a very liberal person, trying to be so liberally minded, like with like the trans issue of like people are who they are, right? Like, I understand that. I think trans people are who they are. I'm like, look, if you tell me that like I'm a woman, I'll take your word at it. Like, I refer to you what you want, right? I'm not going to dead name you. I'll refer to you as what you want to. That's what they truly believe. Rachel Dolezal was lying and knew she was lying. She knows that she's white, and she was like, nah, they not my parents. Yeah, look, if you say to me that you're transracial, not fucking buying it, but if you say that, that's at least something. She was just like, no, I'm black. No, you're not black. Like, you're not. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Was president of an NAACP chapter and everything. I'm like, girl.
No, you stole that job from a black person in Spokane, Washington. Knock it the fuck off. Knock it off.
Yeah.
No, she's not a black woman. She's a white woman pretending to be black. You know what would be more powerful? Being a white person and advocating for black shit. Like, hey, we should treat black people well.
Yeah.
But she couldn't even do that. That's the most white woman shit I've ever heard. Like, you couldn't even do that. Just be a white woman and advocate for black people. She's like, nah, I gotta take up a black person's spot. Okay.
But she also went as far as she took it as far as going into chat rooms and dogging white women for dating black men. Yeah,
so that's a wild move, yo.
She went out.
That's a wild move.
There. She was out there, and I'm like, girl. Woo! Okay.
Oh, when that shit hit the fan, and they were like, "Are you a white woman?" She was like, "I don't understand the question." All right, yo. All right, Rachel, you gotta relax. But she's still out there. She's still like on Twitter and shit. Like she is. You can talk to her. And people are like, go ahead, queen. I'm like, relax.
She don't want to talk to me. She don't want to talk to me.
Yeah, I would qualify. Does she qualify as a queen?
Don't do that. Don't do that. The answer is yes. The answer is yes.
All right. Look, this has been a fun episode.
Yes.
Liz, thank you for joining us once again.
Thanks for having me.
Would you like to plug anything that you are involved in?
This week is Hell Week for me at work, but that's what happens around the holidays. But I am, if you can, please go to theundefeated.com and read the content that we have for sports and culture within the Black community. But also tune in on Sundays to Truth Lies Shenanigans podcast. We're on at 4:00 Eastern. Sometimes you may see Micah. We have Micah on, and we are going back and forth, tit for tat, about Black on Black cinema, this very podcast, and movies. But I just want people to be a part of the conversation. So that's what I'm mostly interested in. Whether I'm there or not, be a part of the conversation.
Nice.
All right. Awesome.
All righty. There you go. All right. This episode 212, was on passing, and we will see you guys. I think we're going to probably do episode 213 right after this. So don't look for a preview episode. It's likely going to just be a straight up episode. So look forward to episode 213 coming next, because we want to get it out before the holidays. All right. That's it for us. Liz, thank you for joining us. That was a lovely conversation. It was fun. Always a good time. And you can listen to Liz. She was on the episode Miss Evers Boys. I don't remember the number, but you can hear Liz and I and Micah and Tiara talk about how COVID-19
and Fishburne back in the day. Fine ass Lawrence Fishburne back in the day before he got old.
Yeah, before he lost Gina Torres. Sad.
Ooh.
He did. He did though.
Taking it there.
I mean, he did though. He did. She seemed happy. So yeah, check that out. And we will see you guys next time.
See you.
Bye guys.
Bye.
Thank ya.
All right. You're watching the Black on Black Cinema YouTube channel. Make sure you check out our full reviews of Black movies, past and present. And every other week, we do a preview episode where we talk about a random topic that affects the Black community.